Welcome, it's great to see so many people here tonight.
Setting up this dance club had always been a dream of mine. It went from being something I could barely fathom to something I genuinely look forward to creating. Call it purpose or vision, either works for me. I had been searching for a place that would offer a welcoming environment, possess a classy touch, and still provide enough privacy for people to have conversations. Keeping all of this in mind, I designed the space accordingly. I divided the club into 3 key areas. The first contained all the tables and chairs, illuminated by dim lighting to create a relaxed environment where people could settle in and enjoy themselves. In the middle, a sizable dance floor allowed guests to enjoy the music I programmed through my laptop, which was connected to both the lighting and sound systems. At the far end of the club was an elevated platform that normally remained closed off. It could be open whenever the venue became too crowded, providing additional floor space and expanding the dance floor. It was also used for live bands, DJ showcases, and karaoke night. Behind the club was an open patio where people could smoke or talk without the loud music interrupting their conversations. My apartment had its own private entrance behind the outdoor patio bar. At first, I believed being a one-man operation would help me avoid unnecessary expenses. However, too many things happened for me to ignore the fact that running everything alone placed the business at significant risk. To avoid setting myself up for failure, I studied other bars and clubs to see what types of digital marketing campaigns and promotions they used to attract customers. The first night was a bit hectic. A flood of people poured through the doors, paying no cover charge and ordering drinks faster than I could make, serve, and charge for them. On top of that, keeping track of all the open taps quickly became a challenge. The first thing I did was hire a bouncer to manage the crowd and collect the cover charge. I also upgraded my register to a digital system that allowed customers to tap their cards and keep tabs open electronically until they were ready to close them. Later on, I created an app that would allow customers to make orders via their phone and get charged directly. They could also close their tabs, and everything had been automated to allow me to notify them when their order was ready for pickup at the bar. Little by little, I began hiring security personnel to prevent fights from breaking out between customers. Thankfully, incidents were rare. In fact, they were so uncommon that security staff often became comfortable with the regulars and spent more time socializing than monitoring the crowd. Whenever that happened, I would send them a text that simply read, "Hands off the merchandise," which was our code phrase for "Get your act together." I have to admit that being my own boss and enforcing rules was far more challenging than I expected, but still fun in a way. Gradually, things began to fall into place. I hired a cleaning crew on occasion whenever the mess became overwhelming, though most of the time I simply waited until the following morning to clean the club, make new orders, and perform inventory checks at the register. Most customers preferred paying with cards rather than cash, so tips were distributed at closing, and the register automatically transferred the revenue to my bank account the following morning, while deducting a small processing fee. The dance club itself usually required nothing more than sweeping and mopping before it was ready for another night. However, I always had to make sure no fruit flies had found their way into the liquor bottles and that none of the dispensing hoses had been damaged during the evening or that any mysterious residue had been left anywhere within the club. Cleaning the bathroom was always a nightmare, so I paid the security staff a little extra to help with the toilets. It might sound strange, but it actually worked. I was still far from recovering my investment, but I was moving in the right direction. During the week, the club remained relatively quiet, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights were completely packed. Some customers ordered nothing more than water, but fortunately many purchased mixed drinks, bottled water, and specialty cocktails. Every so often, I would discover small surprises while cleaning. Empty Ziploc bags containing traces of pink powder, blue powder, or bits of mushrooms. I would immediately rinse them out to prevent any residue from becoming airborne. The last thing I needed was to accidentally get high while performing inventory or placing orders at 6 in the morning. Whatever happened to the smiley face ecstasy tablets that used to dominate every rave, dance club, and after party? Was that simply a trend that came and went a few decades ago? Other than the usual routine, something strange had begun occurring with increasing frequency. Whenever I turned off the lights, I would immediately feel the same presence appear for a few brief seconds. Then I would switch the lights back on and one of the bulbs would begin to flicker. It would be the same dark gray demon with yellow eyes looking directly at me. I started placing cameras around the club in my apartment to see if they could capture anything unusual. Strangely enough, the footage would occasionally darken for no apparent reason. At first, I assumed passing clouds were confusing the cameras, but that did not seem to be the case. The image would be perfectly bright and clear one moment, and then darken for several seconds before returning to normal. I was beginning to think whatever this entity was, it was becoming more substantial now that the cameras were starting to pick it up. I tried to calm myself. I avoided horror movies and anything else that might put me on edge, convincing myself that perhaps this was just a phase that would eventually pass. Then one day, bathroom tile once again appeared outside the shower. Initially, I suspected I might have accidentally kicked it out while wearing my shower sandals. However, I could never remember its exact position well enough to explain why only that particular yellow plastic tile kept moving while all the others remained in place. Not long afterward, I noticed that the moisturizer I used occasionally was nearly empty. It looked as though somebody had been applying it every day, which certainly was not me. I carefully checked the locks on my apartment door and searched for any signs that someone had entered my private living space. Yet, I never found any evidence suggesting another person had remained inside the dance club after closing. It became routine for my staff and me to inspect every corner of the building before leaving each night. I refused to become paranoid. Losing control would serve no purpose except driving me towards madness. The mind is a tricky thing. One moment everything seems perfectly real, and the next you feel yourself slipping into uncertainty and doubt. Was that there before? Did I mistakenly do that? I did my best to remain positive. I focused on breathing slowly, relaxing my shoulders, drinking chamomile or lavender tea, eating lavender-infused dark chocolate, and occasionally spraying eucalyptus mist around the space to create a more peaceful atmosphere. I could not allow myself to lose my grip on reality and drag both my business and my depth down with me.